Ugh. Oh, this is the Daily Freakout via the Bobby Freakout Hour. Something that's sounding. Oh, I don't like the sound of that in the headphones, so I'll take one out or take one off, whatever the phrasing is. And I originally wanted this a bit zoomed in, but it's not going to let me whilst I'm doing stuff. That's all right, though. The Daily Freakout and the Bobby Freakout Hour have not been with us for quite a while now, and I just don't have the motivation. I'll be honest with you. There is so much insanity going on in the world, and so many people commenting on it. We all have the ability to comment, just like I do right here, through minimal amounts of technology. I still remember being amazed going up into one of the sections of the drama department at school, at my fancy private boys' school, and there was video editing equipment. And I was like, oh, wow. And I would have loved to have been shown how to use it and been allowed to use it and stuff like that, but I never quite got the chance. There's probably some confidence issues and stuff in there as mixed in with a whole bunch of stuff. And nowadays you can just buy it. You work your job, you want to frivolously spend some money, buy some guitar pedals, buy some audio and visual broadcasting equipment, and bang, you've got your own little TV show or your own little podcast, whatever you want to call it these days. And here I am trying yet again to do it. So the Daily Freakout, Bobby Freakout Hour, I think, is going to become... I say this whenever I restart this thing. But it's going to be more of a vloggy type thing because who's got... There's just so much going on and you can't talk about it all. So I recently got rejected, or not rejected, just unsuccessful, I should say. Try and be a bit more positive about it. But I recently got... I was recently unsuccessful for two properties that I tried to... or houses that I applied to move to rent. The second one of which I'm seriously disappointed about because it had a lot of property, a lot of land. It would have been a step up in land than the current place I'm at, which would have been great for veggie patches and dogs and activities. And the rent was cheaper, and it would have been great. And I'm currently unimpressed with my estate agent, who's part of the problem, in my opinion. I also am, to a degree, part of the problem. Let's be honest. I am not a perfect tenant, but at the same time, sending me a rent increase a couple of days before Christmas and telling me it's for the investors is not really a good thing in my book. And I'm desperately trying to get my head around the idea that I need to independently find an income source. That's what I'm trying to do. I need to do that because I can't keep working for other people because it does my head in. Like the other week, I actually worked like a full week. I probably did 40 hours and a bit kind of thing. Like I did a full week of open till close, that kind of stuff. And it reminded me, or it felt again like I've done that before. And sometimes you just have to do it. You have to make up for your pre-Christmas mistakes like me. I spent way too much money in December. It's absolutely ridiculous. And when I say spent money, I mean I used Afterpay, and I've got to pay that back. So it's my own fault. Like, don't get me wrong. I know. And I find that when you're working like that, it just sucks your soul. And it's like I'm working so hard to pay for the house that I'm never at because I have to work hard. And I never get to spend time with my dogs. They don't get enough of a walk. etc., etc., etc. Now, they're not complaining. They're pretty happy dogs. They've just turned 10 and they've got a pretty good life. They get to go for walks pretty much daily. Sometimes it doesn't happen, but luckily for me and luckily for them, they are small dogs and they don't need quite as much running and stuff. They definitely need it though. It's not a good thing. I do not like the fact that some days I go without taking them for a walk, but shit happens, unfortunately. So I desperately need to find some source of income that is independent. And so blogging and vlogging and online content creator is the kind of thing that I want to go with. So the Daily Freakout is going to be a news thing as well as a vloggy thing, and the Bobby Freakout Hour is going to hopefully be a lot of vlog, a lot of segments, and we're going to try and get it happening yet again. But my lack of self-confidence and my pessimism is probably going to kick in again. So genuinely, please, if you have listened or watched this far and you do like this kind of stuff, please, please, please click a like, click a subscribe, all of that kind of stuff, because it will genuinely boost my morale. Which, isn't it sad that as a almost 43-year-old man, white man as well, like I've got no problems, really. I came to this conclusion a while back. I'm a white male, middle class, first world country, cisgendered, mostly straight. I went through a bit of a period where I wasn't sure what was up with my sexuality and stuff like that, but never say never, but unlikely. I'm healthy. Like, I've got a few, age is getting to me, so I'm noticing a few things now, but relatively, I haven't had that many health issues. I've always been a bit of a dick, I think, in that regard, because for so long I was just like, oh, people are always over. I think for a long time I was that kind of person that if it didn't happen to me, I didn't fully believe you. Like, I remember an ex-girlfriend's friend had what I assume would be like an autoimmune type issue to do with a spleen, I think. I can't remember the details. But she had serious autoimmune issues and stuff like that. Like, she had to be very careful in terms of sickness and germs and things like that. And I remember being really dismissive of that. And it was, in retrospect, I've looked back and gone, wow, I was a dick. That was really dickish behaviour there. Like, I would not be surprised if that ex-girlfriend's friends didn't like me. And I can see why when I look back. I really can. I'm not surprised. And so that's how healthy I've been in my life. Because I've just never had to really worry about stuff when it comes to physical health. I've always been pretty strong, pretty athletic, etc., etc. Now I'm getting puffed walking up hills, and I'm sleeping a lot more, and it just really, 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 really is not good. And I don't like it. And so we'll try and get life back together and get things happening and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, or not obviously, but I have dealt with some mental health issues though over time. So maybe I've got the physical things okay, but the mental health's maybe that's where it goes. I don't know. Anyway, this is the Bobby Freakout Hour, Daily Freakout. I'll work out some name eventually. My goal at the moment is to just do it every day. So here we go for another day. It is Friday the 30th of January. Oh, I hope you guys had a good year, a good New Year's and all that kind of stuff. I actually had a really nice Christmas. I spent most of my Christmas involved in reading of books on the couch and drinking a lot of coffee, and I wouldn't say I was smoking a lot of cannabis, but I smoked a bit. I've decided that from a mental health perspective and stuff, that some cannabis is not that bad, but too much of it doesn't do the things that it maybe you think it does. Especially depending on the time of life and what you need to do in life. If you were just pottering around the house all day, it probably wouldn't be bad. But if you're not doing good in your head, it can mess you up. Just like a lot of drugs. Alcohol, I think, can do that too. So we all should watch that kind of stuff. So I'm sober again, and it's not that great. But it was a good Christmas for me. I quite enjoyed it. I finished. Is it here somewhere? No, it's not. Yes, it is. I finished George Martin's A Feast for Crows, which means that I've only got one more Game of Thrones book to read, and then catch up to George. So hopefully he releases the next book in the next year or so. The thing that annoys me, though, is that when I bought these, the guy that I bought them off had bought, because I bought them secondhand, he'd read all of those and then purchased the final, or the most recently released book in the series, A Dance of Dragons. This one. Where is it? There it is. But it's in hardcover. And I don't like that, because this thing is huge. Like, if you can compare the two of them, this is easy to sit with on the couch and read. I love paperbacks are my thing. I actually genuinely don't like hardcover big books. If I ever have the option, I'm always buying a paperback. And part of me has thought about buying it separately as a paperback, just so that I can read it with more ease, but we'll see. Probably not. Because I bought a bunch of books for Christmas as a bit of a present to myself, and so I've got to read through all of those. Reading a fascinating book about the CIA at the moment, and I don't think the CIA are a good organisation. The amount of collateral death that is just talked about in this book with such, it's just part of it. Like these guys literally just think. And I used to always say, like, the FBI, coming from an outsider's perspective, the FBI was the internal investigation group, and the CIA were the ones investigating outside the thing. But the CIA are just a military group. They're not investigating, like, it's meant to be the Central Intelligence Agency, which makes you think, oh, they gather intelligence, they gather knowledge. But that's not what it is at all. I'm reading stuff about bombings and murders in Vietnam, as well as the death of many native people who were recruited and stuff. Obviously, Bay of Pigs is a thing. Like, the CIA are not good. It really, I know they have this sort of noble cause and stuff, but they're really just not good. They're really not an organisation that I think we should or anyone should encourage to be active, because they're just, no good. But it makes all those video games that are from, like, CIA, like Black Ops and all that kind of stuff, seem kind of real. Like, these games seem to be based fairly much on things that actually did happen, or do happen, and that's quite scary and worrying. And speaking of things that did happen and do happen, let's talk about a news article here that I've found off, what is it? Oh, that's not the... It's from news.com.au, which we always have to take with a grain of salt, of course, when we talk about that website. But this is the headline here. Asian airports tighten screening procedures after deadly Nipah virus detected in India. Australian authorities monitoring. Now, I think when you initially read that or see that headline, you think to yourself, okay, let's not get too carried away. Come on, like, that kind of headline doesn't mean anything. You hear it and you go, whatever. But because of COVID, the coronavirus, this is how it started. People were like, oh, there's this virus going around, and we need to think. And it's because people tightened screening procedures and put the effort in that a good amount of people didn't die. One of Australia's closest neighbours has tightened its airport screening procedures after a deadly virus with a fatality rate of up to 75% was detected in India. The article goes on to explain what's happening and all that kind of stuff. Commonly, it's found in fruit bats, but it can be transferred to other animals and humans. It was first recorded in 1999 and is the same category as COVID-19 and Ebola. So these kinds of viruses and stuff are all around us and happening all the time, and we have to worry about them. And if it wasn't for people putting in the efforts and the wearing masks and scans and all that kind of stuff, these kind of viruses really would wipe us out more often. And it makes you sort of think back to when people died or got sick and people had no idea what was going on. They just thought that they were possessed or that God had done something. Or in the case of bats and stuff, it seems somewhat plausible that way back in the day, someone got bitten by a bat and died via something like this. And then somebody else went, I saw Jim get bitten by a bat. Bats are killing us because they've got special germs and viruses, and vampires is the next step, it seems. We're very lucky that we live in a time where most of these things, because of our hand washing and our general hygiene and stuff, and I'm not great, look, I'll be honest with you, I don't mind getting dirty and staying dirty. Over hygienic situations, I don't like them. I don't like sterilized hospitals and all that kind of stuff. But it's obvious that it's very useful to do that. It's obvious that our lives are clean and we benefit because of this stuff. And you get to the stage, I remember somebody, I think it was in the debate about vaccines, somebody made the point of vaccines have been so successful that we've forgotten what the vaccines are protecting us from. It's like if you lived in let's say you live in a Mad Max, a post-apocalyptic world, and you've got a massive fence around your city, and on the fence there are a bunch of people who defend the city, and you live in the middle of the city, and you're 40 years old, and you've never experienced an attack from outside, and you've never had to worry about any of that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, there's no problem. Why are we still bothering with the fence? There's no problem. Let's get rid of the fence. And you get rid of the fence, and then you get attacked. Or even the fence is there, and because you're so far away from the fence, you don't even hear or know that the attacks are happening. But the people at the fence know. And I feel like that's our world. Fascism and what's happening in the United States with the rise of, I almost don't want to call them Nazis because it's fascism. So maybe they're just Nazi-esque. It's Gestapo-esque. It's not the actual same thing. It's a whole new thing. And in 30, 40 years, certain histories will be taught and they will say, oh, Trump fascism, Trump American fascism, and etc., etc. We're too comfortable. We think these things never happen and aren't going to happen, and that, dare I say it, the American Second Amendment, where they're just like, no, we always have to have our guns because you could always rise up and try to dominate us. And it seems that's what's happening because we weren't worried about it. We thought this virus was gone, and we weren't protecting as much as we maybe should have, and the virus has come back. So I think I've done a nice analogy there of the Nipah virus and Trump fascism. It is absolutely insane what's happening over there, and that's what I'm talking about. People are commenting. Everybody has this technology like I've got here, and is talking to cameras with a mic and saying this, and this, my opinion, that, and who knows? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a bad thing. I hear we just had Australia Day here in Australia, and the amount of American style patriotism that I saw is I don't want to say worrying or confusing, but it's not me. It's not my thing. I don't have an Australian flag anywhere. I don't own one. I don't care about having an Australian flag. I know what the flag looks like. Don't care. I just don't care. I was born here, which is a coincidence. It just happened that way. I had nothing to do with it. I like where I live, but I like where I live because that's where I grew up. And again, I'm a white male in a middle-class family and society within a first world country. Of course I'm going to like it. I love the look of eucalyptus trees in forests, and especially the few times I've been up into the mountains or the high country of this state, Victoria, that I live in, and that's beautiful. And I've lived on the same rough stretch of land for my entire life, so I like everything that's here. I like the beach, the way it smells. I like this, that, and whatever. I like because that's what I grew up with. I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable here. Makes sense that I would like it. But that to me is a form of patriotism that I sort of had no choice on. It just happened that way, and I don't see the need for a big flag to try and demonstrate that. And I feel that the Australian flag represents certain things that I don't like. The history of this country is terrible, just like so many other colonies, where you don't realize that, or we don't think about it that often, that there was a certain period of time where Europe decided to spread out and say, we're going to take everything. We're going to, I think it was it the French? The French went into New Caledonia, Vietnam kind of thing. The Dutch were down in South Africa, I think. You've got issues in the Congo where black people were losing hands because they didn't produce enough rubber. You've got all this stuff. You've got Aboriginals here in Australia that had chains around their necks and that were shot and killed just because. Or down in Tasmania, the smaller island off our island, there aren't any Aboriginal people left because the white man literally said, kill them all. And that's a part of this country that I don't like. And so having that flag all over the place, I'm just like, I'm not that keen. I don't think patriotism like that is necessarily a good thing, because I think it blinds you to just being a normal good person, because everyone, race, color, religion, whatever, is just another person, and we're all just as confused as each other, and we're all just as struggling as each other. Well, maybe we're not all just struggling the same as each other. Our struggles are pretty different sometimes. And if we can just have some extra compassion, then maybe we can get through all of this kind of stuff and we can make it to some kind of peaceful existence. That being said, it seems like a pretty human trait and a human nature to not live in peace. I don't know. Has any human ever truly lived in peace? Is there ever been such a thing? I don't know. The people that are on the wall at the fence probably don't think it's very peaceful, but the people in the middle maybe do. I don't know. Anyway, it is time to take the dogs for a walk. It is almost 7:30 a.m. This has been the Daily Freakout, back on your YouTube for the one or two listeners who may actually, or viewers who may actually see this on the via Podbean. It's on iTunes podcast or Apple Podcast, whatever they call it now. Yeah, genuinely, if you've listened this far, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Please drop a like, a comment. Let's have a debate. Let's have a peaceful but positive and proactive debate about all these things that are happening in the world, because without discussion, we're obviously not going to get anywhere. But let's remember peace and love, as Ringo likes to say. Thank you very much. This has been the Daily Freakout Hour, Daily Freakout, whatever it is, I don't know. My name's Gavin, and I will see you tomorrow, maybe. Maybe not. We'll see. What day is it? It's Friday. Maybe not tomorrow. Maybe Monday. We'll see how much motivation I can get to actually get up and be proactive in life, or whether I just sit in bed and doom scroll and watch America burn. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye.